right now. Brought to you by Ford and your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. It's our Dallas Cowboys insider, Mickey Spagnola. Good morning on what has been a really tough day, sir.
Yeah, boy, you sure got that right, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the story, and let us know if any of this sounds off or if this is what you've heard. The story that we have heard from the Texas Department of Safety is that Marshawn Kneeland was involved in a high-speed chase. The cops lost sight of the car. They found the car later with signs that it had been in an accident, and then they found Marshawn Kneeland dead at the age of 24 via a self-inflicted gunshot.
I don't know if I've ever experienced something so sad and tragic, just awful.
And
yeah, I think I can do this.
And if for any reason you can't, we totally understand it. I realize football is not the most important thing, but I keep thinking about the juxtaposition of this news.
I know.
Versus the punt, block, recovery, touchdown, and just that sense of freaking euphoria versus this. It is almost impossible to wrap your brain around.
You know, the longer you live, you think you've seen everything, and then you see a little more. Just going from the euphoria of Tuesday, making, the trade deadline moves, everybody excited about Quinnen Williams being here on Wednesday, press conferences with the new guy, and then to plummet the very next day into such sorrow. You know what? I think that somewhere you got to thank the scheduling gods that the Cowboys are on a bye. Think about if they had to come to practice today.
I can't imagine.
I don't know that I know they don't give you a bereavement excuse for not playing on Sunday, because in 2012, this happened, and we were boarding the plane to Cincinnati when we found out about the Josh Brent accident and the death of teammate in the car, Jerry Brown. And it was almost unimaginable that they were going to play a game the next day. They were going to get on a plane as a team. And they ended up with a 2019 victory. And as I remember, final seconds, they won the game as if somebody was looking over them.
Right.
And it just made me flash back to that they had to play a game. And, and they won in that fashion. And I just couldn't imagine this if they had to play on Sunday. It'd be unbelievable.
What all do you remember back in 2012, either immediately or in the aftermath of how the players were able to compartmentalize, or however you want to describe it, playing football while kind of dealing with that? Yeah,
it might have been the quietest charter flight to a game I think as I could remember. And everybody trying to a lot of those guys might not have known until they showed up for the flight. I knew when I got there something was off because too many people were standing outside the plane. They weren't boarding, and it was, the hour of boarding time. And it was like, oh, something's wrong.
Right.
And the fact that they were getting, I think, all the players, as I remember, on the plane. But as you know, the Cowboys travel people from the 4 TV stations and then somebody from each radio station, and they held them off the plane until I think Jason Garrett addressed everybody. and then let them on. But, it might have been the greatest coaching performance by Jason Garrett in his coaching career to rally that team to actually go out and play the way they did, basically in honor of their teammate and, the sorrow for Josh Brett, who had to go through that, knowing that, the speeding and, the fact that his partner next to him in the car passed away and it wasn't him. Boy, this one, it's right up there with that, I guarantee you.
I always did think at the time and since then that always felt like Jason Garrett's finest moment, where he was the leader of men in that moment that you needed to make it to the other side.
And I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but, they're off. They're off until Monday.
Right.
And there's hardly anybody here in the building.
Right.
And I don't know if my mind was trying to buffer myself, but I walked to the door to get in, and, of course, I left my badge in the car. And so as I was dreading walking in the door, I said, okay, we got to recompose ourselves, go get the badge, and come on in. And I could tell from the security guards that are around, they knew, and they could see the look on my face, and it wasn't, hey, how you doing? Have a good morning. It was just open the door, and no words were said. So, and you guys, I heard it how it happened from you guys, and this might be, other than letting my wife know, the first people I've talked to.
Mickey, Alec, our producer, he was in the locker room. He got to see some things, and we got the experience of watching him at training camp. You've been in that locker room a lot. Would you be able to help me kind of understand the person he was in that locker room?
Yeah, he was such a kind of the undefensive lineman. He was just a really nice guy, cooperative with the media, though you could kind of tell, I wish I wasn't doing this, right? But he did it. And but he was just kind of a quiet guy, just a sweet soul. And, it's one of those things that you never know what someone's going through.
Yeah.
And I could remember when Dak talked after his brother committed suicide, and really opened up about, how tough it was on him. And I remember somebody criticizing him in the media for being soft.
That guy's a chump.
And not being a leader, right? And I'm going, are you serious? And then we've seen, and this has got to really hit home for Dak after him trying to put together the program to deal with mental illness like that, and to have this happen to a guy across the room from him. I bet he's devastated too.
Yep.
So it's going to take a while for this all to get processed here. But again, as I said, they don't cancel games. The show's got to go on, and this is going to be a tough deal. And you almost wish they were here, because then they would be together instead of having to process it by themselves. And I'm sure, they're welcome to come in here. HR, I'd already put out a notice about if anybody needs help, there'll be counselors here, people to talk to. But, football players, they're not going to come in and bare their hearts. And so you kind of almost wish they were here to talk with each other. And who knows? Some of them might have been off on a weekend trip or something to get away from football, get away from life.
Yeah. Do you think, because somebody texted this in, and I guess at the time I didn't really think about it at all, do you think there should be some sort of revisiting of the NFL's bereavement policy? Not, I mean, I get the Cowboys are on a bye right now, but like I'm thinking back to the other story you told me, and the idea of like, hey, one of your teammates died, you need to go play. Like that feels crazy to me.
Yeah, and they just don't cancel games. It seems like, I mean, if I remember correctly, the games went on after 9/11.
Did they? Yeah, I can't. I don't remember, but I'll take your word for that. I'm sure you're right.
And they might have canceled something the next week.
Yeah. I think you're right.
But it was, and I think there was, regret that they didn't postpone.
Yeah.
That weekend. And if you remember, well, you don't. I had to read about it, but when President Kennedy got assassinated here,
right,
the Cowboys had to go to Cleveland and play on Sunday. And it happened on a Friday, I believe it was. And, the story was when they showed up in Cleveland, they were persona non grata. Usually when they got to a hotel, the bell captains and the caps helped them with their luggage getting out of the bus. They got totally ignored.
They're from Dallas.
Yeah, and it was Dallas's fault.
And it's your fault because you lived in Dallas, and they blamed it on Dallas. But the game went on, and I remember, I think it was Pete Rozelle saying that they regretted having to make the teams play on Sunday because when the Cowboys got to the stadium, up on the rooftops of the old stadium, there were armed guards standing, at attention. And, they saw it all. And I remember, Gallows humor, 50 years later, talking to guys about it. It's like who wants to be the first person to run out for player in introductions, right?
Right.
And I think they ran out with their helmets on. So, yeah, that was tough on them. They were told if you're going out to dinner, you better go in a group and don't go far. Because, it was the Dallas Cowboys' fault for the assassination. So, those I know about that because I did a story on it. We did a documentary story on it. And then what happened to Josh Brent. So, and now this. It's just unimaginable because when I first heard it, no one knew, right? It's just that he unexpectedly passed away.
Yeah.
And then the more you guys explained it, I was going, oh, this is getting worse and worse and worse and just unimaginable.
Is there, I just want, if there's, I know you're kind of processing it like we are, is there anything you want to say to the people? Anything just on your mind if you want to throw anything out there?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is, sometimes we get reminded in the worst way that it's a game, right? It's a game. It's not life or death. Who cares about your fantasy team, right?
Yeah.
Okay, they're 3-5-1. My idea to get ahead for tomorrow was to come in and write about, well, here's where they stand. Here's what the, standings look like.
Right.
Here's how many teams have a better record than them in the NFC. And this is probably what they got to do to, at least have an opportunity to get the last wild card spot, if that's even possible. And we actually talked yesterday, maybe the best way to get in the playoffs is if they can keep winning and the Eagles, have a downfall and you win the East, and that's how you get in because you only have to jump one team, not four teams to get that last wild card position. And I was just going to explain it and say, probably mission impossible, but,
Yeah.
You never know with this crazy season. You got a chance. And then when this happens, it's like, well, that's moot. Who cares about football? It's just, and it's a thing that you don't see it coming. And I'm sure we've all gone through things in death. I know when my parents passed away, I realized death is never convenient. It happens on its own time, right? I was on the way to visit my dad when he passed away. I was covering the Super Bowl in Florida when my mom passed away the day before the game. So, yeah, I learned a hard lesson about those types of things and making sure, and you don't even have to get older to understand this, but if there's something you want to do, don't put it off. Go do it, because you ain't guaranteed tomorrow.
Well, then I want to tell you, Mickey, we talk with you pretty much every day that we've been encouraging people to spread the word. I love having you on. I love talking with you every day, even when we piss you off or you piss us off. I appreciate the back and forth and the information and everything, and we're really glad that you're part of our show.
Well, I appreciate hearing that from you, and I feel the same way. And, it's entertainment business. Not everybody agrees with everything. And,
Sure.
Sometimes we've got to learn, and this country's got to learn that you better at least listen to both sides before being so vehement about disagreement.
Well, that is a damn fine message that I really hope gains traction today. Thank you very much, good sir. We will catch up with you next week then.
Yeah, on Monday.
Yep.
We'll kind of be back here for sure.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.